Hey there guys and welcome to the FP1 post-Podium podcast. We're here after round 3 in Hungary. No longer are we at the Red Bull Ring. We're at a new circuit. It means a new circuit for Mercedes to dominate at. And yeah, it really was dominance this weekend. Red Bull were nowhere. Ferrari, as we kind of expected, were nowhere again. Racing Point were a little bit closer, but we'll get on to them a little bit later. Now, if you haven't seen this series before, don't know what it might be, then basically what this is we take the race that happened on Sunday. It's been a couple of days now after the Grand Prix, and I'm here with a special guest. Today, joining me all the way from South Africa, I'm here with Tinas from the TF1 Show. Tinas, how are you doing? How's lockdown treating you?
I'm doing good. Lockdown is treating me acceptably, I guess. As good as lockdown can treat someone, so can't complain. Yeah, really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. And just before we get into things, Tinas, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do on the TF1 Show?
Sure. So the TF1 show is a podcast where I sometimes go at it alone, sometimes have a couple of guests on, and we basically chat anything Formula One. So we do race recaps as well. We think about the driver market, we think about what's happening in the future, we talk about regulation changes. Basically anything that's F1 that we think is relevant, we'll chat about. And yeah, please, if you want to have a listen, go and subscribe.
Cool, and all links to that will be down in the description below. Me and Tinas did a video like this on his channel back for round 1 of the season. Obviously, that was an absolute cracker of a race, so if you want to go back and look at that, feel free to. Another thing of note, if it looks like I'm melting in this video, it's absolutely boiling in the UK at the moment, so I apologise in advance for that one. But yeah, let's jump straight into things, and I mentioned Mercedes dominance, but I want to start with Red Bull, and yeah, it really wasn't a great weekend for them. I mean, they came into the season looking like the ones that could challenge Mercedes, and after their testing pace, it looked like, well, maybe we could see a championship fight. Not really. And this track, for a track that usually suits their car really well, really showed their flaws, didn't it?
I mean, to be honest, I think the Hungarian Grand Prix was probably the biggest disappointment for anyone since the Rugby World Cup final for England last year. And I think what was really surprising was, and I think what made it double bad was the fact that everybody was sort of hyping up Red Bull to hit back in a way after Austria, where I think it's now well documented that Mercedes has a bit of a power advantage compared to Red Bull, and we all thought that the Hungaroring is going to be the place we were going to see the Red Bull chassis shine. It's going to be Adrian Newey's time to reveal himself and to make his claim on the world title this year. And I don't really think it could have gone much worse for them, quite frankly, given their expectations.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Alexander Albon out-qualified by the Williams of George Russell. And Albon, it's a tricky one. And I've seen quite a lot of people suggesting that Albon might not stay the season out with Red Bull. I remember the first news on this channel, in fact, the first video was me saying how Gasly wouldn't get dropped, and that obviously aged really, really well. What's your take on Alex? I mean, he did kind of bring it back in the race, but still, he was nowhere close to Max.
Well, I have a bone to pick with you, firstly. Speaking such horrible things into existence. I've seen your tweets on Twitter saying this is the last we're going to see of Albon. Firstly, we don't tolerate such negative energy on the internet. No, to be honest, I think we need to cut Albon some slack. And I did mention on a previous podcast that I think the one silver lining for Alex Albon with Red Bull basically building a bit of a dog of a car this year is, I think, since Red Bull isn't properly going to be in the title fight, I feel that gives him a bit of leeway to just find his feet. Because I think one of the big contributors to Gasly's, well, there were a couple, right? But one of the big problems with Gasly's tenure at Red Bull last year was, at about the Hungarian Grand Prix, Verstappen had just won in Germany and it was going really well in Hungary, where I think Red Bull were thinking that there's an outside chance of them maybe still fighting for a driver's title. And at that point, having Gasly so far down the grid meant that they were really fighting with one arm behind their back, which contributed to them saying, actually, Pierre, it's been nice, but, cheers. Where I think with Albon this year, they don't have that really to say, I feel, because I think it's pretty clear, given that they were more than a second off in Hungary, that some miracle is going to have to happen for them to challenge for the world title for both the constructors or the drivers. So if I were Red Bull, I would probably say, let's do our best. Let's try and identify and correct the errors or the potential shortfalls of our car this year, and try and put together some sort of a campaign for next year, and then give Alex the opportunity to really find his feet and take a bit of the pressure off. Because yes, qualifying was a bit of a disaster, but I really, really feel how he drove in the race made up to me for how he qualified. Because at the end of the day, don't really think he could have done much better from a results perspective, even if he did qualify in 4th or 5th.
And from one Red Bull driver to the other one, Max Verstappen, I mean, that crash, I'm not going to lie, I was laughing a bit. In fact, I was laughing
I
a lot.
wasn't laughing. I was cackling. I was literally sitting on the couch going like, because, it's just dripping with irony, that whole situation. Because people love to put Max on this pedestal of, the rain master, can do no wrong, like makes no mistake ever. And then on the parade lap, not even the formation lap, the parade lap, he slides off and drives into the wall. But but then I guess we need to flip that around and give kudos to, firstly, his team of mechanics who did a brilliant job. And then secondly, Max did drive a very good race, given everything that happened.
That's true. 7th to 2nd in a car that, as we previously discussed, didn't really have the pace to be there. So, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, with those comments there, even though you were nice at the end, you've probably just gained the hate of every single person in the Netherlands. So, good luck with that one.
Fine. The Netherlands, they must come for me. I'm ready for them.
I tried to put a few tweets out again just to stir up a little bit of drama. But they didn't work. They weren't really in an argumentative mood on Sunday.
No, but the funny thing about them is, like, they come or they react so strongly to the tweets that you don't think they're going to react that strongly against.
Yeah.
Like, I said something. Like during the race, I tweeted something about Hamilton doing such a good job with his tire management, because at that point in time, he was still in his mediums and Bottas had just pitted for, his hards to chase down Max. And I was commenting about how Hamilton is still lapping the same time as Bottas, even though he's on much older tires. And then one of some guy from the Netherlands lost it. I mean, he was like, yes, but how can you say that Hamilton would have been a 6-time world champion in Max's Red Bull? I'm just like, I didn't say that. I just tried to compliment him on his tire management. But so no, to be honest, I think there are some very nice and friendly Max fans, and I hope they talk to me. And the other ones, they can keep quiet.
Yeah. Let's move on before we get in even more trouble. Last thing I want to talk about in terms of qualifying pace, anyway. Well, in fact, last two teams. Actually, firstly, Racing Point. Racing Point, Tracing Point, Pink Mercedes, Aston Martin, whatever you want to call them, they did well today. Stroll P3, Perez P4, and Perez, he wasn't feeling very well this weekend. That,
bad timing for Perez, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
He couldn't have chosen a worse weekend to not do well at.
It really did fit it fit the Mercedes last year. It would fit the Racing Point this year, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, in terms of race pace, Perez fell away, and I wonder again if that was him. He said he was feeling dizzy in the post qualifying interview, so I wonder if that plays a part. Stroll, though, I've thrown a bit of shade at Stroll in the past, I've got to admit, but he did a good job today. Clip that, whatever you say. I know you're shocked as well. I've complimented Stroll. But I am going to compliment him. He did all right. He did fade a little bit in the race, but I think that Racing Point's race pace wasn't great, and it's not great in the rain either. So it did struggle at the start. I don't think Stroll can ever really work his way back up again. But yeah, fair play. An improvement from Stroll this weekend. What do you think of it?
No, absolutely. I mean, Lance Stroll, for the first time, I was sitting there going like, look at that Formula One driver and everything. Like, the thing is, similar to you, I have been quite rude to Lance Stroll in the past. I mean, I might have said in the past that I have seen tractors go around racetracks faster than him on a qualifying lap. And look, I think we can all be honest that Lance Stroll, his qualifying isn't his best. Like, that's not his thing. But the fact that he out-qualified Perez, whether he was dizzy or not, was a step in the right direction. And he did a really good, solid job in the race. I think I wouldn't say he put together an exemplary performance. I think if you had a podium, given everything that happened with Bottas and Verstappen, a podium I would have said would have been like a standout drive. But with everything that transpired and all of the uncertainty with the rain and the tires and everything, really, really strong performance by Lance. And I would like to give him props for his good efforts.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you on that one. Last thing I want to talk about then, before we get into the race itself, was Williams. And, we touched on them earlier, George Russell out-qualifying Albon. Wow, and Latifi as well.
Yeah,
Latifi shocked me. Latifi really shocked me. In fact, more than Russell did in getting out of Q1. It really does show a step in the right direction for that Williams team, and really happy that and in fact, at the end of lap 2 or 3, Latifi was 8th. Before that clash in the pit lane, which sadly
talk about the dawn before the dusk. Like he was running in 8th, and then before you know it, he was 5 laps down. But anyways, I interrupted.
I think that was ironically down to his Williams team letting him out just kind of too aggressively. I think was it Carlos Sainz?
What is it? Yeah, what is it with them and those weird pit stop releases? Like the same thing to Max last year. Remember with Kubica in Brazil?
So Robert, it's weird, isn't it? I think that Williams quick pit crew are arguably one of the best on the grid. Maybe perhaps the bested by Red Bull. And you go back to 2014, 2015, they were getting the quickest pit stops. I think they were one of the first teams to go under 2 seconds with that. So it is a little bit of I guess, a shift in the form of that team, and really not what they want, since there was a time where really pit crews were the only good thing that they had. They've got better though, and it did show progress. I think the race pace of that Williams now is where that car seems to struggle. So yeah. What's your take on that? Because George faded as well.
Yeah, let's first talk about qualifying. I think George put together 2 incredible laps there. Like that Q1 lap of his was actually ridiculous because, there was a bit of track evolution, right? But just, it was sort of out of nowhere where you just all of a sudden see Russell pop up to, I think it was P5. There was like the 2 Mercedes and like a racing point, and then was George Russell in the Williams. And it was amazing. And then obviously, he was quite close to making it into Q3. What a story that would have been. So really, really amazing stuff by George Russell. Williams need to just, if they can just, I think they're on the right track, but they now need to turn their attention to the race pace side of things, just to get up to speed there a bit more compared to Haas and Alfa Romeo, I would say. It would be really nice to see those Williams battle at least with the other guys, and not just, starts in what I think Russell started 12th and Latifi 15th. And they just dropped like a stone. Yes, Latifi was running 10th, but is he still driving? I think he's yet to finish the race because he was that far behind at the end. But no, I think really positive for Williams. I think, green shoots of hope. That's what I would call this weekend.
Definitely. It reminded me very much of Haas last year with the way they couldn't get their tyres up. But it was even worse, really, because it was so apparent that team was struggling. And Latifi was doing well. I think in the wet, that car works really well. But as soon as it goes to dry conditions, it struggles. We're going to the UK, which is very, very sunny at the moment, I can tell you. I don't know what the weather forecast is for a couple of weeks' time. I don't think it's out yet. But, I'm hoping for a little bit of rain. I think that really could do bits for the Williams team. But yeah, we haven't even gotten to the race yet. We're like 10, 15 minutes in. Let's get to Bottas. Because that start, I mentioned it in my live reactions video, or my instant reactions video. I'm not happy. And the FIA have come out. For those who don't know, Bottas jumped the start. He then stopped and then started again. In fact, I think they even said he didn't fully come to a halt. He just kind of started, slowed down, then kept going again. There was no penalty for that. And like I said, this happened with Kimi Räikkönen.
I remember it was in Suzuka last year.
I think Suzuka was Vettel, and Vettel got investigated for it. Yes. And then I think it was at Russia. I want to say Kimi was in the Alpha, starting quite low down, but he did basically what Bottas did. Might have creeped a little bit further forward than what Valtteri did, but still very similar thing. But he stopped, and then he started again, but he was penalised. Now, the FIA have since come out and said that there is a sensor on the car that sends it, and they give a penalty whether that sensor has detected something. So even though we saw it on the camera, we saw Bottas jump the start because the sensor didn't pick up, because there is a little bit of a tolerance in that sensor because of the cars having to line up on the grid after their formation lap. Fair enough, I get that. But because there was a little bit of tolerance and Bottas was just inside that, there's no penalty. What's your take on it?
I agree. I think it's silly. And I have a couple of thoughts on this. Firstly, on the whole, sensor tolerance thing. Why? Why do they need that? Because at the end of the day, they have all of this telemetry, right? They have throttle maps. So the easiest thing would be to do, okay, we know at this point the light went off. At what point did he press the throttle pedal? That to me would be the easiest check, to be like, oh, is it literally... I know they have like a 2/100th of a second tolerance as well, like in terms of how quick you're allowed to react before it's a jump start or not. Like that to me is the easiest thing, over and above the fact that it was clear to the naked eye that it was a jump start, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's the first thing. Like, I don't get their procedure in terms of determining whether it should be a jump start or not, because they have all of this technology and all of these tools to their disposal to determine this. So I don't understand why they need to have a whole separate sensor with some tolerance to determine whether it's a jump start or not. And then secondly, and I've seen this quite a lot of arguments being made for the fact that, but Bottas had a slow start at the end, so he was already punished. I don't know if you saw that. A lot of people were making that argument. To say that, no, but, he lost out at the start, ergo, he shouldn't get a penalty. Like, to me, that makes no sense from a logical perspective, right? You need to think about, it's like saying, and I actually, so because Will Buxton actually said this on Twitter, and I'm like, there's so many flaws in that argument. And this might be an extreme example, right? But Will, let's say I go to your house, I want to murder you, like with the intent of murdering you, right?
Right.
Then I'm clumsy and I'm useless and I accidentally chop off my arm in the process and never get to murdering you, right? Then I go to a court and the court tells me, no, actually it's fine because I chopped off my arm and I didn't end up murdering you, so I've already been punished enough. That's Brilliant. Exactly the argument that they make.
I love it. I love it.
So I just don't like, the thing is, like that train of thinking, and we've seen this quite a few times actually with the stewarding, where they use the outcome to judge whether an action should be penalized or not. And I think that's a very, very dubious approach to be taking with like adjudicating these things, because you can't take the outcome to, like, it never makes sense, because the outcome is always going to be different. And how do you decide whether the outcome measures up to what the equivalent penalty would have been? So yeah, I have many thoughts about it. I agree, Bottas should have gotten a jump start. I should have gotten a penalty. He got a jump start. And yes, but it's his own fault if he gets away slowly then as well. So no, I fully agree with you there.
The other thing I want to talk about with the race was the strategies, and there was meant to be rain. We had a little bit of rain before the Grand Prix. Then it seemed to be every 10 minutes, 10 minutes till the rain, 10 minutes till the rain. Oh, don't worry, it's moved to the south of the circuit. But there's 8 minutes till more rain. No, that's moved to the east. Oh, no, 5 minutes, and then it's rain for 30 seconds. Never mind. Yeah, I think I said in the instant reactions, I was like, it feels like F1 are paying Mercedes just to put that over the radio and just keep people watching. Because I think after the first 20 laps,
yeah, it's like artificial excitement.
Yeah, it was a bit annoying, wasn't it? But tell you what, the team that I think played that the best was Haas. I mean, yes, okay, they got penalised for it at the end. Which, I think when Grosjean went out and tweeted saying, oh, congratulations, Kevin, getting that P9 for the team. And I respond saying, this is going to age really badly in a couple of minutes when this...
Exactly, but isn't that just the most Haas thing in everything in your life? Like, they pull the strategic master stroke, like, outperform their car's ability to the nth degree, and then get penalized with a double 10-second penalty at the end. I mean, that just is, I just find that classic, but shame. Poor Haas.
Yeah, but I tell you what, that strategy did work really well. Apparently Romain Grosjean had damage on his car, which is Romain Grosjean. Are we shocked by that? No, not particularly.
You would think, if you think about it, he should technically be more comfortable driving with damage on his car than without any damage on his car, right?
Yeah.
Like, you would think he'd be used to it by now, but no.
Oh, I'm loving this chat. I don't want it to end. Let's. As you said, Haas played the master stroke, but their engine supplier Ferrari really didn't, and I'm almost a little bit annoyed by it in the sense that when they did it initially, and they put Leclerc on the soft tyre and Vettel on, and they pitted Vettel I think second, and he came out behind Leclerc despite being in the lead. It was all to favour Leclerc. The whole intention there was to favour Leclerc, but how it transpired in the end was that the soft tyre was a load of shit, let's be honest, and I think Hamilton was told over there it lasts about 3 laps before it starts going off the cliff. So they didn't really play that well. Vettel obviously ends up finishing. Where did Vettel finish in the end? He got a top 10 finish. I can't remember what. 5th. Yeah, it was 5th. That was
sixth because it was Stroll got 4th, Albon got 5th, and
of course, because Albon got him towards the end, didn't he?
Yeah,
that was brilliant. And the Ferrari as well, which is really struggling this year. Fair play. Vettel has shown this year, I think, that he's still got it. You know, he outqualified Leclerc in Styria, and then Leclerc blew him up into turn 3. And yes, okay, the first round of the season was diabolical, I will give you that. But apart from that, he's done pretty well. You've got to give him that. What was your take on Ferrari's weekend? Because it did seem better than Austria.
The amount of anxiety and anger that Ferrari wakes up in me just this season, like I can't begin to explain to you. And I had this rant, I think, when you joined me on the first podcast.
Yeah.
Just like how their struggles, how unacceptable it is for them to be where they are. But let's not go there again. I think, firstly, let's talk about Vettel, right? I think this is a really, really good race for Vettel, just in terms of vindication. I think he showed Ferrari in a couple of ways why they were a bit stupid to let him go this early on.
Yeah.
I think him basically overruling the team on the soft tire, medium tire call, where they wanted to put him on the softs as well. And he said, actually, you know what? Given that I have an IQ of more than 80, I think mediums is probably the better tire given graining. And lo and behold, Sebastian was right. And Charles didn't question the team. He just said, okay, cool, let's do softs. And we all saw how that turned out. Yeah. So first and foremost, I think that gives us a bit of insight into how Vettel, like how much he's contributed to that team and how much he's sort of had to drive things from his end as well, given it really does, like the fact that Ferrari was, I think there was 1 or 2 other drivers in the whole grid that didn't go medium or hard at that first stop. And if you're Ferrari, you need to ask yourself, right? If you see 88% of the grid deciding on a specific strategy, why are they deciding on that strategy? Because the soft tires made literally no sense. We saw in F2 what happened to the tires, right? So you can't try and run a one-stop race with a soft right at the beginning. Like it's gonna end in tears, and it did. So that's maybe Sebastian Vettel. You know, a lot of props to him, out qualifying his teammate and putting in a relatively good race result given our expectations of Ferrari this year. For Ferrari as a team, it's still a shocker, right? If you think about, and this has also been sort of hyped up to be their strongest track of the year, Hungarian, because they have no straight line speed, like literally, like they're effectively moving backwards when they're on the straight. And so basically, given that there were no straights during, in the Hungarian, really, this was supposed to be a good track for them because they have decent downforce at least. And they have a 5th or 6th, and Leclerc finished 11th. Now, if that's not a discouraging result, I really don't know what is, because let me tell you, Will, Silverstone is going to be a bloodbath for Ferrari. It's going to be like bad. Like, I mean, if I watch a Williams out qualify Ferrari there, because they are like, what percentage of the lap in Silverstone are like at full throttle? It's like some ridiculous percentage.
It is like 70%. I can't remember. You've got Hanger straight, you've got Maggots and Beckett, which is basically flat out now. Cops is flat out. And you're right. It is a high percentage.
Two races at Silverstone, then going to Barcelona. Barcelona should be okay for them. Then Spa, Monza. Mugello. I mean, did you see that straight? Like, it's gonna be painful. Like, I really actually pity the Ferrari fans, not because I am one, because but that's just gonna be painful to watch. I actually saw a stat, was a tweet today where they said that if Hamilton wins all of the races, for the remainder of let's say the next few races, he's gonna tie Schumacher's wins record in Monza and break it at
Oh,
Mugello.
no. Oh, no.
Imagine the scenes. Imagine the
In
scenes.
Ferrari's 1,000th Grand Prix.
Yes, Ferrari's greatest pride is effectively decimated in their 1,000th Grand Prix. Like, you can't write this. You can't even make this up.
Yeah, it's not looking great for Ferrari, but hopefully they can pick it up. I'm conscious of time, so let's move on to the last point before we start wrapping up, and that's Racing Point. And there's another protest from Renault. We touched on this a little bit with Luke last week, but just very quickly, what's your take on this whole Renault Racing Point protest? Do you think it's going to go through? It's again on the brake ducts, and I think they'll protest it in every single race until there is a definitive answer from the FIA. There was a news that's come out since that last post-podium podcast, which has basically said the FIA have admitted to, we didn't actually look at the brake ducts. Let's give that a look. So there could be something there.
I think there could be. To be honest, I haven't made my mind up yet on what the whole situation is, because it's very, very confusing, the regulations around this and the listed parts for this year, and the fact that they carry design, like it wasn't a listed part last year, so they could effectively use the design but design it in their own way for this year. So I let me maybe come out and say I don't think Mercedes had anything to do with it. If you get what I'm saying, like Mercedes wouldn't be that stupid to open themselves up to something like that. Yes. So that's why I'm thinking if something happens, it's just going to be about Racing Point having to explain why it's so similar. There could be something there, but I'm going to say probability-wise, it's probably more likely that Renault's going to lose this. I would think. Yeah,
we'll have to see when the evidence is made public. Or it might not be. They might do a Ferrari and make a deal with the FIA so it never comes out. Except it's just obvious on track. But, hey, last thing to finish up with today is predictions for, it's 2 weeks now before we go to Silverstone, which I cannot wait for. The British Grand Prix is back. What I want you to give me is a top 3 for the race. So first, second, third, and then a bold prediction for the weekend.
Okay. Top 3, Hamilton first, Bottas second, because only a fool would pick against that. And then third, I'll be a bit more adventurous. Okay. Let's say, who'd I like to get a podium? Sainz. Let's say Carlos Sainz.
All right. Nice. And your bold prediction?
Williams will out-qualify Ferrari.
Oh, nice. I was going to mention it as my bold prediction, but for my top 3, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say Hamilton to win it, because he's just so dominant around Silverstone. And then I think I'm going to go Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. I don't know. That's just a gut feeling.
That sounds like a sensible choice.
It could probably happen.
Imagine a universe where that can happen.
Yeah. And then bold prediction. I was going to mention Williams, but I'll stray away from them. I'm going to say Alpha Tauri. No, I'm going to say Alfa Romeo to get points. I think that'll be their first point season as well. Okay. So
it would.
That's bold. They've been struggling.
Giovinazzi has scored a point. Don't come here.
He has. So they'll score more points. My bad. I'd forgotten. I mean, he got that point because everyone retired in Austria. So
don't take away his pride and what more do you want to take away from Antonio Giovinazzi? Take away all of his points as well. Oh my goodness,
it's awful.
You said it, not me.
Right, I think this is getting out of hand. We're gonna end it up. But yeah, Tias, thanks so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed this. I've loved it. This has been great. All of Tias' links will be down in the description below. So if you do want to go check him out, and I strongly suggest you do, go down to those links and give him a subscribe, because it is a brilliant podcast, really underrated on the platform as well. So yeah, go and check that out. Tias, you got any lasting comments before we finish up?
No, I'd just like to thank you again for having me on. It's been a hoot. I had the best time, and I mean, what are we gonna do next weekend? I have no idea.
I don't know. It's gonna be weird. It's not race week for once. It's
like losing a loved one. I don't know. I'm gonna be depressed, but it's fine. We'll make a plan.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Before you do go down to the comments and let me know down below what your top 3 prediction and bold prediction is for the British Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. And of course, it's not race week, but there'll be a lot more videos coming out on this channel. Got several things planned, so stay tuned and make sure you do drop a subscribe as well while you're at it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will catch you all in the next one.